do business with people they like. And so building those relationships and building a community feel where people feel, hey, I need some help.
Nothing beats getting in a room together and just throwing stuff up on a whiteboard and seeing what sticks and what slowly slides off as you investigate it further.
It's one thing to be able to say, hey, we know what the issues are. It's something entirely different to be able to say, and here's what the really smart CEOs are doing about it.
Welcome to The Mind Behind Leadership, brought to you by Dale Carnegie in Australia. And this week, we are lucky enough to speak to probably one of the most humble leaders I've ever come across. And we're speaking with Tony Hamilton, the CEO of the Celtic FC Foundation. Now, some people end up in exactly the right role for exactly the right reasons, and none more so than Tony. His impact on the foundation and its growth over the last few years, and by extension, everyone who they serve, is absolutely immense. It gives us some insight into the background and the reason that the foundation is there, why it's so important to the club, but also some of his views on leadership.
Tony, it's good to see you again. Thanks for coming on.
And thank you for having me, Graham.
No, it's good. Tony, just let's just start off nice and easy. Just give us a little bit of background about you and about the Celtic FC Foundation.
So I have been here at the football club for just gone 30 years. I came in 1994, just after the club changed hands. It was a very tumultuous period in our history. The club were very, very close to liquidation, effectively. New owners came in. I joined in 1994, and my first job here was to make the tea for the guy who made the coffee.
And did you do it well? You obviously
probably not, because I lost that job very quickly. So I've been here 30 years is the upshot of that. And the last 11 years, I've headed up the football club's charitable arm, which is Celtic FC Foundation in the UK and Celtic FC Foundation Incorporated in the USA. And the purpose of that really is to do two things, working with people within our communities. So we see our communities as here in the north and east of Glasgow, where our home is, where life is very, very different. Life expectancy is different, unemployment is different, addiction is different, opportunities are significantly different. So that's our primary community, if you like. We also have really strong communities in Ireland because we're a Scottish football club with Irish roots and an Irish heritage. We have a strong community in London, and we have pockets of community across the eastern seaboard in the US, predominantly in New York. So we aim to do two things there. We include people who would otherwise be left out, Graham. So the paradigm, if you like, of the football club is a club open to all, and we bring that to life. So we include marginalised people, so people who live with dementia, autism, Down syndrome, complex physical disabilities. And the second thing we do is we work with communities to try and alleviate poverty. And there's two parts to that. There's a sort of unsustainable way, if you like. So we open the stadium here at Celtic Park 4 times a week and feed people. There's no sustainability element for that. There's no permanent route out of poverty, but we provide a hot meal for people 4 times a week. The more sustainable route out of poverty is employability, and we do a lot of that with marginalised groups, young offenders, people who are in the criminal justice system, people who've been out the job market for a long time, who may have a chronic health condition. So those are the two things that we do. We include and we help tackle poverty.
That's a big responsibility, Tony.
Yeah, and I think the difference here at this football club is that a lot of sporting organisations do a ton of great work within their communities. So absolutely. I think the difference for us is that this football club here was formed to address a specific purpose. at a time of real crisis in Victorian Britain about 140 years ago. There had been a great hunger in Ireland, a famine, and Gorta Mór it's called in Gaelic, where 1 million people died and 1 million people fled. And those who fled came to the west of Britain, Glasgow and Liverpool, and some went to the east of America, Philadelphia, Boston, New York. Those who came here to Glasgow weren't overly welcome. There was not a great deal to go around for people who were already here. So the football club was set up to generate a financial surplus, to provide a meal for these people. So we've continued that work through the offices of Celtic FC Foundation. So it's not manufactured for us. It's not about football. We don't teach kids how to play football here, but we try and bring some meaningful change to people if they need it and if they come and engage with us.
Is that kind of a byproduct of having such a big brand, such a big kind of influence within the community already?
Yeah, and I think we're probably one of the biggest employers here in the East End of Glasgow, and it's the right thing for us to do. It's the right thing for the football club to invest in this activity, to invest in its infrastructure, to provide office space, to cover the chief executive's costs, to do a whole series of things.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do. It's the right message. It's who we are here.
That I know any time that we've spoken in the past, who we are is kind of a big theme. I know another one as well is, and it kind of came out with just what you mentioned there, is fairness. I know in several times when we've spoken, you've said like life's unfair. And there's certain things that are happening in the community. I mean, obviously from the background of the community as well as what's happening now. I know it's on different levels, but life's unfair. Why is fairness kind of a word that seems to come out a lot for you?
I think that there is a disparity here. So, for example, we invested £400,000 in fuel vouchers for people. So what happens is, if you have the means to pay your domestic fuel, gas and electricity through your bank account, then you will rack up debt, but you'll never get cut off. The electricity or the gas company will never stop your supply. But if you're a risk to those organisations, what they'll do is they'll say, you can no longer pay this through your bank account. You have to have a prepaid meter. And if we're going to charge you a premium for the meter, so you pay a different rate per kilowatt hour. And if you don't put enough money in the meter, you cut yourself off. What's fair about that? That's not fair, right? So people are getting punished twice. They're getting punished because they don't have the money.
Yeah.
And then they're paying a premium for the same product that you and I get at a different rate. You'll get a significantly different rate in Australia than we do in the UK, incidentally. But that's another matter.
Yeah. I keep well across it. You can see what's happening.
I think the issue here, I said this earlier in my first response, there is a lack of opportunity here for people, for a lot of people within our communities, and that leads to a lack of well-being.
Yeah.
And then you're on a circle, if you like, of no opportunity, no self-esteem, addiction, crime to feed the addiction, the criminal justice system, and back round you go until your number's called. And we're trying to break that up. That's really what we're doing. But it's low volume for us because we're not a big organisation. Really low volume. Open the doors, you might feed 150 people every night, which is great. But that's not a definitive answer to that family's issues. It's a short-term Monday night answer or Friday afternoon answer, but it's not a long-term answer.
Yeah. So Tony, can hear the passion on this. I get you've been there for 11 years. I'm sure you've seen a lot of change. We'll come to that actually. I'm curious about what the change has been within the Celtic FC Foundation over that time. But why is this so important to you?
It's important to me for a whole host of reasons, Graham. I am from this part of Glasgow. I was brought up 2 miles east of here. So this is my home. Life was very, very difficult for all of us back then in the 1970s and 1980s when I was growing up here. I have personal lived experience of addiction. I see the consequences of addiction. I am well down the road in that now, 23 years down the road. And the work that we do in that space is hugely important as well. That all plays up. And I think at the risk of repeating myself, it's important because we're in a position where we should help. It's the right thing to do. We can help and we should help. Therefore, we will help. That's really the approach. It's not overly complicated. We are one of 42 professional football clubs in Scotland. We are one of 42 clubs that are doing something within their community. We are one organisation associated with Celtic. This is Celtic's charitable arm, but there are other organisations who are attached to the football club, supporters groups who do a whole ton of great work for themselves, for other people within their own communities. So we don't have a monopoly on charity here. We are just playing a part, and it's important because it's the right thing to do.
Look, I actually thought twice about even asking that question because it should be important to everybody. I mean, you know, to be contributing to that part.
And it's not for me to tell other people what to do, right? It's not for me to tell people to support what we do or who to support or if they need to support any charitable activity. People make their own choices. Other organisations, our partners here, our commercial partners, our corporate partners, people share our values here. People buy into the ethos of this football club and who we are. And that's hugely important as well. But we have no expectations about what people do.
It's interesting. I've met some of your partners. It feels like it's kind of way beyond a CSR or something like that. Just, you know, ticking a box. Way beyond it.
Yeah. We don't talk about corporate social responsibility here. So no CSR, no ESG. We're not, to use your language, ticking that box. We're doing it with the best intentions. We're doing it for the right reasons. We've identified a need or a series of needs within our communities, and we're trying to do a small part in addressing them. That's really the purpose. If the byproduct of that is that it reflects well on the football club, then so be it. But it's not an intention for me at all.
Yeah. So there's a lot you could do. How do you make choices? Some of that must be tough.
So what we try and do is we try and raise a sum of money every year to deliver our own projects. We've got a series of projects somewhere around about the 20 mark that are in Glasgow, Ireland, London, a wee bit other parts of Scotland, Inverclyde, Edinburgh, and some international stuff. And we the cliche, I love a cliche, Graham, as you know, we've met often enough, but the cliche is that we can do anything here, but we can't do everything. So we need to be really, really focused. So the primary aim is, how do we sustain these projects that we deliver? How do we make them sustainable? How do we guarantee funding for a sustained period of time? And how do we measure outcomes? And how do we tweak the content of that if we think the outcomes could be better? So that's the purpose. And then there are opportunities for us to help one-off situations, and we take them on their merit as we can, depending on what cash flow looks like at the time. So there might be things that will respond to a crisis internationally or whatever it is, and we'll look at that. But the primary focus is we've got a suite of projects. We've got a plan and how to raise money for them. We've got a plan on how to deliver them. We've got a plan how to monitor and evaluate the success or otherwise of those. and make adjustments as we go. So that's really it. It's very, very focused what we do here. And incidentally, that's a
Yeah.
big shift from when I came in. We would have taken small pots of money and tried to do everything, tried to do anything that we could. But I learned very, very quickly that you need to have a focus. You need to understand the decision-making process and the consequences of that decision. And sometimes you just have to say, no, I can't help. I value what you're trying to do here.
Yeah.
I'm not the guy that can help you with that. That's hard, but it's necessary.
That was actually going to be my next question: is how's it changed over the last few years? But just because of what you've said there, I'm curious, how have you changed since you came into this role?
I have probably learned to say no. I'm a people pleaser, right? I'm a feeder. I love cooking. I love feeding people. I've got a lot of kids. I love them coming to visit us. I love cooking for them. I love pleasing people. It's what I do.
Yeah.
This job is not about that. It's not about pleasing me or pleasing other people. This job is about making decisions the way that we are taught to make decisions. We understand the consequences of those decisions. We consider various scenarios from that. As leaders, if you like, we look at what that looks like. We try and look at it through various lenses. We try and see it through other people's point of view. And ultimately, we need to make decisions. So this job is primarily about making decisions. My youngest daughter, who's not particularly young, but she's my youngest daughter, when she comes to visit or when she phones me or when I phone her, she'll say to me, "Make good choices, Dad." I found out she got it for a movie, right? But anyway, she always says to me, make good choices. So that's what we do here. We endeavour to make good choices.
I think it would be fair to say that your role's high profile, especially with it being linked to the club. So I'm going to guess that many people have got opinions. How do you decide kind of what advice to take? How do you decide who to listen to?
Everybody's got an opinion. It's football,
Yeah.
right? So everybody has got an opinion in everything. I think that I spend a lot of time in relationship management. It's a big, big focus for me. I spend a lot of time with people. I like to engage with people. I like to hear what's going on in their life. I like to see how we might be able to help one another. And I get advice. I give advice periodically, not terribly often, but I get a lot of advice. And I learned here from a real senior guy within the football club who is a big influence in me. And he said to me when I took this job on that loads of people want to give you advice. You need to listen courteously, consider it, decide what you're doing, and move on. And if you're not taking their advice, don't get hung up on it.
Here regularly then, and this might take us into that leadership is lonely. Now you said you build lots of relationships, you meet lots of people, you've got good support there. Does that still ring true for you?
I think it's I was told actually by the same person that this is a lonely job, and I had no concept on what he meant. I asked my former colleague what it was like, and he said, my approach is I take the blame for everything and the credit for nothing. And I thought that's really, really smart. So that is my approach here. That's my approach. And with that, leaves you feeling quite isolated sometimes when you're in that situation. So that's where the loneliness creeps in, to use your language. So ultimately, you're in charge. You need to make the decisions, and you need to stand by them.
Do you ever feel that you should have taken the credit for something?
I think what we do here stands and falls around people, not process. Now, we need the process because we need to comply and conform, and we need to make sure that things are done properly, and we've got all of the protections in place, that we're making good choices around how we raise funds and how we deploy those funds. But behind that is people. So although I may ultimately take the final decision, the people who are at the coalface, the people who are at the sharp end, either delivering the project or raising the funds, so that we can go and deliver the project, are the people who deserve the credit. If it goes awry, it's my fault because I'm in charge, right? So I have no beef with any of that, to be honest. I like that approach. I feel comfortable in that approach. And people know where they are with that approach.
I'm just wondering if it's more of a relationship building thing, because you've got, and I know you've got staff there, you've got people who report to you on the payroll, but you're also looking to influence lots of people who are not, who are volunteers or who would voluntarily get involved or voluntarily get involved with the foundation. Does that change the approach as well?
I think, I mean, it goes back to relationship building. So you need to, so the relationship that you and I have will be different from the relationship that I have with the chairman of the foundation, for example. There will be parts of that relationship that are very, very different, and they'll be different again for people within the foundation team here. So it's about how you engage and how you relate to people. Some people like to listen. I like to talk. You'll not be surprised to know. Some people will like to talk as well. So it's about being the right version of yourself, depending on where you are. And building relationships is really, really important. So being visibly not claiming the credit and denying the blame is really, really important. And I think it should be a basic for everybody who likes to think of him or herself as a leader.
Yeah. And we're coming, when you're touching on the other thing, which is almost the given, is the authenticity part. It's much easier just to be ourselves.
I think that's quite subjective, actually. I think people's interpretation of, I mean, it's a great leadership cliche, right?
Exactly.
The greatest trait of a leader is being authentic. I read that a lot, and I hear it in podcasts a lot, and I see it a lot. I'm not entirely sure that I agree with it. I'm not sure it is the most important thing. I think people's interpretation of what's authentic varies depending on the person. So I might think I'm authentic, you might think you're authentic, but people might see us differently. So I tend not to get too hung up in this authenticity question, if I'm honest with you, Graham.
That's actually quite interesting, because how I see it, how we see the authenticity is how we feel about it. Are we being real? Are we being true to ourselves?
Yeah.
How others see us is kind of how it is. But if we're going to be true to ourselves.
I say, and I think my father, God rest him, said this to me when it's probably his best lines were obviously always somebody else's, but I'm sure he said to me that what people think of you is none of your business.
Yeah.
And there's some truth in that, right?
Absolutely. If people think you're authentic or not, it's kind of one of those things. If you are authentic, then it keeps you in kind of a stable path. And
going back to the idea of being a people pleaser, then I know with people within my circle, family, feeding people, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Pleases me, pleases them, that's fine. The wider world, there will be people who I encounter who aren't taken by me, and that's life, right?
That's fine. Doesn't mean to say that and we just got to get on with that. I remember being told I was running a network group, 25 people, and I remember speaking to one of my colleagues, and I says, I think there's somebody who doesn't like me in there. He says, that's not true. He says, there's more than one. So just get used to it. You'll never please everyone, and that's actually fun.
Exactly.
That's good.
It's a good start point.
We don't have to please everybody to actually do a decent job and be the right, get the right things done either. Okay, so that takes me just final couple of questions. So what are people most likely to misunderstand about you then?
To misunderstand about me,
Yeah.
I think I'm funnier than I actually am, right? I suffer from an overdose of flippancy and sarcasm. It's probably a safety net for me. And I'm not sure, on reflection in the cold light of day, that everybody gets it. And I need to try and I know that it's not right, and I need to address it. So that's a challenge.
Is that a Tony thing or a Scottish thing or a Glasgow thing?
It could be a bit of both, but it's certainly a me thing for sure. Think everything's a one-liner, and it's not. Life's not like that. Sometimes you need to be serious.
I definitely found out when I moved to the US and I moved to Australia, not everybody got it. So I had to cut mine as well.
Probably less so in America, right?
Very much.
But in Australia, you'd probably get away with it a bit more.
Just. How do you relax when you're not doing what we're talking about you doing now? I mean, I can hear the feed and the kids and all that, but
I love that sort of stuff. I decided to lose a bit of weight a year past in February, so I decided that I was going to walk, which I never walk, and I was trying to do between about 5 miles a day, and I have walked at least 5 miles every day since February 2023. I missed 3 days. I had COVID. I couldn't get out of my bed, but every other day I've walked at least 5 miles, and I thought that my purpose was to lose weight, which I managed to do. And I thought that people talk about mental health. Everybody's got mental health, Graham, right? Yeah. I thought my mental health was really, really strong. I cannot tell you how much my mental health has improved from a really strong starting point just by walking. Just by walking, exercising, walking briskly, listening to a podcast, listening to Picky the Pops from Saturday afternoon, or Paul Gambaccini on a Sunday night, or making phone calls and just walking. Out in the morning, early in the morning, the rest of the world's asleep. The weather doesn't matter. There's no such thing as bad weather in Scotland, as Billy Connolly says, only bad clothing choices. So I love longest answer in the world. Apologies.
No, absolutely not.
I relax by walking.
What's the difference in the mental health? Really curious. I mean, we're coming up to.
I just feel. So I always feel. People talk about stress and pressure, and those things are real for sure. I never really suffered from that. My head feels much clearer now. I feel more energized mentally and physically. I feel great now, much better than I did. I can't explain it because, as I said to you, I had a really good starting point, but I just feel so much better.
That is a positive note to finish this off on, Tony.
Great.
Thank you for that. Thanks for your time, and look forward to catching you again.
Thanks very much for having me. Really enjoyed it.